So far, we've talked about three different types of or stages of energy production in our body, or how we use and digest foods. We talked about digestion, and then degradation, which is glycolysis for sugars. And now the last portion is we made those 2 to 3 carbon small sugars, and now we're going to produce a lot of energy out of that through what's called the citric acid cycle. So this is our last portion of our how we produce energy in our bodies, our metabolism. So the citric acid cycle, you'll see, actually starts with acetyl-CoA. So something we didn't talk about too much in the previous slides up here, we talked about anaerobic conditions a little bit more in depth, but what about the aerobic conditions? So the pyruvate generated in our glycolysis reactions, glycolysis process, those under aerobic conditions, so where there's oxygen, can undergo a reaction where it attaches to acetyl-CoA. I'm sorry, to CoA to make acetyl-CoA. So the HS enzyme with a CoA next to it. Remember, we looked at that structure back a couple sections ago. And then with the addition of coenzyme NAD plus and NAD, or making NADH, we end up forming acetyl-CoA. So this purple section is going to be, you're going to lose a carbon through carbon dioxide. Remember, we breathe out carbon dioxide. So you lose the purple portion in carbon dioxide, and where this bond was right here is now replaced with the SH. So the SH, that H goes on to the NADH coenzyme, and then the sulfur attaches on, and then you make what's called acetyl-CoA. The blue part is called an acetal type, or acetyl. Acyl is really what it's called, but and so it's acetyl when it's attached to something. So acetyl-CoA, and that is going to be the start of our citric acid cycle. So this is kind of an in-between glycolysis in the citric acid cycle. You need to make acetyl-CoA. So let's go back to this section. Overall, what happens is you take the acetyl-CoA, which are 2 carbons long. You're going to attach it to an oxaloacetate to make what's called citrate. So remember, the yellow is going to be our new carbons, acetyl-CoA, come in. So now we have 6 carbons long. We get rid of one of the carbons through carbon dioxide. Now we have a 5-carbon ketoglutarate. We get rid of another carbon as carbon dioxide, and then we have succinyl-CoA. That gets changed and converted to oxaloacetate again, and then the process can just repeat over and over and over. Continuing on. So this is what I just talked about, but that's okay. We'll just go through this real quick. Again, so this oxaloacetate is really important. Actually, we don't need to go through this, but really overall what happens is this top part, oxidation of small molecules in the citric acid cycle and electron transport provide ATP. So we get a lot of ATP out of this process, and you'll see that in the subsequent videos. We're going to talk one video about part 1 and one video about part 2 to try and break it up a little bit.